Okay, final one in kind of the religions videos for Attack on Titan. This one is going to be about the Titan worshippers that we see that are kind of a big part of the beginning of the Before the Fall manga. I would like it if they did an anime of Before the Fall. I would think that would be a very interesting anime to go through. It wouldn't necessarily be as long as the original one, but I think it would be kind of interesting to watch. Um, as I said, I've read the whole Before the Fall. I may go through and do some other videos about it, but this is just kind of a video that goes with the religion stuff. It's about the Titan worshippers. Um, the Titan worshippers is a cult of people inside the walls that believe that it is an honor to be devoured by a Titan. Yeah, yeah. That alone makes me go, okay. Someone's been putting weird things in the water. So they believe that being eaten by them is a kind of a kind of release. Uh, it's kind of an unknown reason why they think this. I don't think we end up seeing the exact impetus of this. But we see throughout the beginning of the manga, it's basically most of this is in the prequel of the manga, or the first chapter, the prelude of the manga, with a little bit of the coming in the first couple of chapters as well. So the basic premise of the Titan worshippers, as I said, is they believe that it is an honor, a type of a release to be devoured by a Titan. Um, hey y'all, be a shifter. There's these things called shifters. It's really interesting. They actually are, who want to get eaten by Titans. Well, their kind of purpose is to then, when they're certain, after they've had a Titan power for so long, they're to be devoured by other Titans. So maybe that. But what we see throughout the course of the first chapter or so is there is a woman. Her name is Elena, or yeah, Elena. She is kind of the leader. She's the new leader of these Titan worshippers, and she is very very pregnant when we see her. Um, Her husband was a former member of, I think he was supposed to be a member of the Survey Corps, and of the Survey Corps. And what had happened was he had been attacked by a Titan, and his head, like just outside the walls, he got eaten by or attacked by a Titan and partially devoured, I'm assuming, and then his head got thrown over the walls. Okay, and it landed literally right in front of her, on the ground right in front of her. And she, of course, recognized her husband. And it basically kind of mentally snaps her. And, it breaks her. And she's pregnant at this point in time. And she ends up joining the cult, the Titan worshippers. And what ends up happening is very near when she's going to be giving birth, she has rallied the rest of the worshippers to basically kill one of the governors by one of the gates. I don't remember which gate it is. I want to say that it is Shiganshina again, which I'm just like, okay, that's a lot of problems for Shiganshina. This place needs some help. I think it's Shiganshina. Since Shiganshina is, I think, supposed to be the lowest, or the lowest, the furthest north gate, south gate, I don't remember. But it's the gate that's like the closest to like where most of the Titans seem to appear. And because like they mentioned in the manga at some point that like there's not as many Titans up north possibly. That they mostly tend to stay on the southern part by the gate, but I don't know exactly if that's the case or not. If I don't remember if that was 100% the case or not. But what ends up happening is, her and the rest of the cult members, basically they kill the governor, and then they're able to outmatch both the Survey Corps and the garrison into forcing the gate open. And in come the Titans. And the Titans come in and they start, devouring and slaughtering and, all these problems and everything. And Elena is one of the people that is eaten. And I think we see, several of the Titans are, of course, killed in this case, and the garrison and the court and the Survey Corps are eventually able to get the gate closed and kill the other Titans that are in there. and or drive them out, one of the two. Um, and they're able to get rid of the Titans. And then there's this, we see this in the anime and the manga. There's these, the Titans when they're full, when their stomachs are full, they vomit up these, wads of Titan vomit. That can, they seem to, they can spread disease and everything like that. This is kind of goes over a little bit in the original manga, I think, and it's gone over a bit in the anime at one point. And one of they're going through, and like they have to try to identify as many people as possible so they know who's dead and who's not dead. And part of the thing is moving, which I'm like, okay, that in and of itself is a bad thing. And they think that, like, okay, well, what's going on with this? And the guy that's in charge of the garrison, or that's the well, not in charge of the garrison, he's just one of the Survey Corps members. He goes and he slices open the vomit, and there's the body of the pregnant woman, of Elena, and the stomach is moving still, so he cuts that open, and inside is a baby. And the baby is unfortunately proclaimed the Titan's son. This is the main character of the Before the Fall series. He ends up being called, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Kuklo, Kuklo. He ends up being basically turned into a sideshow freak, unfortunately. That was not the Survey Corps members or the Garrison's member intention for that to happen. That was not his intention at all. He probably took the kid to some of the other refugees that after the Titans came into Shiganshina. I think it's Shiganshina that happens, and again, I think so, but I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But he probably took them there and hoped that the child would be okay. And the child is unfortunately not okay. The child basically, it's found out that, the child's mother was eaten by a Titan and then, survived. So the kid, is the Titan's son, type of a thing. And he, gets turned, as I said, he gets turned into a sideshow freak at, whatever type of fair or carnival or whatever. And he's just treated like, he's treated as, this sideshow, this thing. He's treated as a thing, as an animal. He's given food, but he doesn't, he's not taught how to speak or read or anything like that. And, several years later, he's bought by the Inocencio household. I think I pronounced that correctly. If I mispronounce it, I apologize. Inocencio. Sounds kind of Italian. Family, which are a very well-to-do, noble family within the walls. And Kuklo is bought by the family and by the father because the son is going to be trained to become a member of the garrison or a member of the MPs, and go into the core of the service and everything. And the Kuklo is basically there as this thing to motivate him. It allows I think it's Dario. No, Dario is the father. It is Xavi. That's Xavi. Xavi, who is the son, and he's about the same age as Kuklo, and he, his kind of motivation is he gets to keep beating him. And he has a sister, Charley, Cheryl, whatever you want to name her, Charley. And he, Charley finds, she knows that there's this Titan that's in the house, and this Titan son in the house, and she, has a dagger that's made of the the stuff that later on is used to make the blades that the Survey Corps used and that the garrison used to kill the Titans, made out of that same stuff. It's called iron bamboo. There's a lot in Before the Fall that actually explains like how this works, what that frickin' metal is that they use on those blades, where the ODM gear came from, how it developed, who made it. And like the Before the Fall takes place like 50 to 60 years ish before the actual series starts. And I mean, like, you can watch, like, if you want to read it, you can read it either, after you're done reading the original series. That's what I did. I didn't find out about it until I was like almost, when I was like when I was like going through and actually watching the anime and reading the stuff, and then I found out about that. And it's it takes place so many years beforehand, so we get a lot of backstory in how like certain things were developed. How these how the Odiandir came into being and everything, how who developed it and everything, and things like that. And we get a little bit more of the crystal because in the series, in the actual series, they mentioned the ice burst crystals, which is what the gas is that they use on their ODM gear when they're jumping around. Ice burst crystal is like the gas. It's in a gaseous form that has a lot of oomph to it that allows them to fly around and everything. And the blades that they use are made from what's called iron bamboo. That is, even stronger than, regular steel and stuff like that. It's actually able to cut titans. And, we learn more about that history, but like, Charlotte has, a knife, a dagger that's made out of this stuff. And she, goes down and she's going to, save her family from the Titan by killing it. And she gets down there and it's just this boy that's about the same age as she is, or maybe a year older, and he's just scared and skinny and beaten and bruised. And she's just like, you're not a Titan. You're not a Titan. She's seen a Titan. Her father at one point, probably as more motivation for her brother, had her and her brother and him go all the way up to the top of one of the walls, and that was the outskirts wall, one of the parts of Wall Maria, and like look out, and she saw a Titan. And I don't blame her for being terrified of it and being terrified of this thing that was in her basement. But she's like, you're not a Titan. And then she spends the next several years, a couple of years or so, teaching him how to read and write and speak and how history and everything like that. And yeah, you get the thing. They fall in love. And actually, the very ending of the series is the whole series is like, I think it's like 80 some chapters, 70 to 80 some chapters. So it's not really all that long. I mean, it's not as long as the original series, but it's still pretty good. And I think that they could do another anime out of it if they really want another Attack on Titan anime. They could do that, and there's like Levi side stories that they could do as well. But I think it's a little bit more of like Levi's past that I would be perfectly fine, and I would watch that. I don't know if they ever will, but maybe. But they do fall in love. And the end of the last page of the whole manga for the Before the Fall is Charlotte is like writing a letter to someone, and she's like, and next month, Kuklo and I will be married, so they're engaged by the end of it. But what ends up happening is Charlotte and Kuklo. This does loop back into the Titan worshippers, I promise. It's not just, oh, she wanted to talk about this, so she did this. No, I will have like a different series or something like that where I talk about like Before the Fall a little bit more. That might be I reread it again and like go through it a little bit more. But what ends up happening is Charlotte and Kuklo decide that they are going to run away. Charlotte is like in an arranged marriage, and she doesn't want to be in an arranged marriage. Her brother is about to go off to join the Garrett, or go off to do his training and everything. And Kuklo wants to leave so that way he can go and try to find out, more about his past, more about who he is. And, well, not so much his past, but he wants to prove to himself that he is not a Titan. Because all he's been called is, oh, you're a Titan. You're a Titan's son. Yeah, your name's Kuklo, but you're the Titan's son. That is what you are. That is what you will always be. And you will never be anything besides that. And, he doesn't want that. And what ends up happening is, they decide that they're going to run away together. Charlotte will gather up anything that she has that can be worth any money, and she can sell it. And they can escape, and they can have food and everything. She'll probably, pack up some of her, less identifiable clothes, pack up some stuff from her brother for Kuklo to wear, and then they'll leave. And the night that they're planning on leaving, their house actually gets attacked. The Inocencio household ends up being attacked by the Titan worshippers. And what ends up happening is the Titan worshippers found out that that's where Kuklo was, because it's mentioned that by someone, the person who had originally owned Kuklo when he was, the sideshow attraction, had said that, well, there had been this kind of man in a black coat, a gloomy looking man in black robes, black rags, that had wanted to buy Kuklo before they came, before Zavi and Dario came along to buy him. But he went, of course, to the higher bidder, of course, which would have been the Inocencio family. And the Titan worshippers wanted Kuklo back, because he is this, he's the son of their previous leader, Elena, and he was born from a Titan, as in he was inside a Titan and then, cut out, and then, is alive, he survived that and everything. And, they want him back because he can be like this new figurehead, like probably like the Titan worshippers idea was probably like, oh, well, if we can get him, then we can, rebuild our cult, we can find the rest of our cult, we can have him be our leader, we can, train him to believe what we believe, that his mother, that he was a divine sent, something divine sent from heaven, by the Titans or whatever, that, he is to lead them, he's going to be their new leader and lead them into, being able to open the gate again. Just stupid. But the Titan worshippers attack the house, and, they kill all of the servants except one who's away. That servant's kind of an a-hole anyway. And they kill Dario, who is the father of the family, the head of the family. And then Zavi thinks that it was Kuklo that had planned this. But I was like, dude, you've kept him isolated in your dungeon for the past several years, and the only people he sees are you, your father, the people you bring in to let watch as you beat up a helpless child, and your sister. And, so it's not really a secret that you have him in your basement. You bring in other people to watch as you, beat him up. So, to, prove your status as, I'm going to be part of the garrison, or I'm going to be part of the MP squad. He does end up becoming part of the MP squad. Actually is not a bad member of it. He does his job rather well. He goes through a whole character arc. But what ends up happening is, Kuklo, ends up defending Charlet and, fighting off a bunch of the Titan worshippers. I think he ends up killing some of them in the process. But, they kind of wanted to die anyway. So, it's fine. But, the Titan worshippers get mentioned a little bit more, not in the main series, obviously. But they get mentioned a little bit more every now and then. They say, oh, there might be some more Titan worshippers hiding out in that area, or this other uprising might have some Titan worshippers involved in it or something. And it's, it's a very interesting story. I found Before the Fall very interesting, but the Titan worshippers I do kind of look at as some of the more crazy members, one of the more crazy cults from Attack on Titan. The Church of the Walls, even with that, it's, they worship the walls themselves, and the walls do keep them safe. They might go a little bit overboard in the fact of, maybe we should kind of equip the walls a little bit more, and maybe have a little more, defense purposes set up on the walls before we worry about, whether or not it's considered heresy to attack them. And, I can go over these, we have the Church of the Walls, as I mentioned. We had, the followers of the king, that, he expounds, through the first king's will, they, expound, the pacifistic nature, all that there and everything of, oh, we shouldn't, we should stay calm inside the walls and have peace within the walls, and we shouldn't go beyond the walls and everything. And then, of course, there's the restorationists who just want to restore Eldia and, restore it back to its former glory. The Jaegerists fall in that category too. Then there are, of course, the the Marley warriors, how they're, raised, and, going with that, the subjects of Ymir that I went over, that, these, that the Titans, that the Eldians, that the descendants of Ymir, that they all need to be punished and everything, that the only way that you can redeem your family or redeem yourself is by either allowing yourself to be turned into a Titan to be dropped onto the enemy or to attack the enemy, or to go through the whole process of becoming one of the Marleyan warriors, and then doing everything that they tell you to do. And so we have those, and it is kind of a hard thing to understand as to like where that comes from. I mean, the same thing can be said for like religious beliefs in our world. I mean, I'm Christian, I'm Lutheran, and yes, we follow what's in the Bible, but I also know that, I don't think that the Bible is 100% true, but that doesn't mean that I can't take hope from some of the things that are in it. And the same thing can apply to anyone who's Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu or Taoist or spiritualist, or, whatever you want to refer to your religion as, or even if you're atheist or agnostic, or you just don't subscribe to any religion. Your religious beliefs can be very formative in who you are, but, they can also be kind of a detriment in some cases too. And I'm not denying that. And if any of my family see this video, that doesn't mean that I don't follow what we're taught in church, or like what Grandpa taught us. By the way, please don't show these to Grandpa. But it's that whole concept of, eventually, your religion does affect you, but it also affects the outside world. And, those two forces go against each other sometimes. Sometimes they work together, sometimes they are opposing forces. And, I kind of lost my train of thought with where I was going with that. Sorry. But, in our world, there's lots of other religious belief systems and everything. And in Attack on Titan, there were even other religious belief systems, because we even have the moment in the series where we have, Anyan Capone, where he's talking to Sasha and he's explaining to everything, I think, that, yeah, God created the Eldians and gave you that power, gave your race that power to be able to transform, because, people need to be eclectic, people need to be different. But it's also the whole thing of Ymir Fritz didn't choose to have that power. And she probably would have been a bit happier if the power had just died with her, not been passed on to her daughters and them turned into weapons the same way that she had been turned into a weapon by Fritz. And, Anyan Capone, he was one of the ones, it's like, he's not Marley, he's not a Marleyan descent, but he didn't think that the Eldians needed to be destroyed. Same thing with the Azumabitos, with with Hizuru. They didn't think that the Eldians needed to be destroyed either. They just, they had the right to live just like everybody else did. The right to live, the right to be happy. That doesn't mean that they have the right to go through and start, stomping out the rest of the world. I'm looking at you, Aaron, and the Jaegerists. I understand the difference between pacifism and just destroying everything in your path. Part of what I think the religions in Attack on Titan kind of try to show us is that, you have to find that right balance between not wanting to fight at all and just being completely and utterly passive and taking whatever is pushed your way, which is where kind of the will of the king people fall, the followers of the king fall, where it's like that vow of pacifism, of no more war. And then the other end is, the people like the Jaegerists and the Eldian Restorationists, that it's, if we fight, we live, if we die, we lose. If we fight, we live, if we lose, we die, type of a thing. That, that keeps breeding more and more hatred. And that, there is that balance in there between what's real, what were the real things that Ymir Fritz did, and what were the lies that Marley came up with. And that they have to understand the fact that Ymir was a slave. She was forced into that position. She didn't choose to have that power of the Titans. She didn't choose to have that forced onto her daughters. She didn't choose to have that forced down her descendants. And she had the mentality of a slave. That's why she, did what, Carl Fritz told her to do. Because she didn't exactly have the ability to be able to defy him, because she was so scared, even though she had this power inside of her, and she could have literally just squashed him and his men. May have been the better decision, in all honesty, and people have written fanfics about that, or even I'm sure there's probably some people that have written complete whole articles saying the same thing, that well, if she had just killed Carl Fritz way back when or whatever, or just allowed him to be assassinated, then maybe this other thing would have happened, or this other thing would have happened. Maybe Eldia and Marley could have been at peace. Maybe Eren and his group wouldn't have had to watch their friends die and their families die, or died themselves, or had to go through all this horrible stuff. But that's not the story that they were trying to tell, that that the mangaka was trying to tell. And everyone will pick out their own thing that they can learn from this, or their own things that they can learn from this, things that represent back to our world, that relate back to our world and our own history of our own of our own race and everything, and what we've done to others. That'll be there. Lots of stories are very good at being able to show you of like, no, you need to be careful with the way that you treat other people, and that you can't punish someone for what their parents did. Harry Potter is a very good example. You can't punish the children of a Death Eater for what their parents did. You shouldn't. You shouldn't punish, Draco for trying to protect his mother when, he did kind of end up becoming an ally of Harry. Things get a little bit murky in there with the Room of Requirement and the Fiendfire, but that was not Draco that set the Fiendfire. And then, there's other things there. You can't punish a husband for what the wife did, or the wife for what the husband did, or the brother for what the sibling did, or whatever the case may be. That cycle of, you did this, so you're going to get punished. You did this, so you're going to get punished. Your parent did this, so you're the one that has to be punished, is stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Don't do that. Don't punish someone for something their parents did. It's because you don't like your neighbor. Don't punish the neighbor's kids. Don't do that. It doesn't work that way. It's not fair. It's not right. And it's just wrong. So that's where I am on this video. That's the end of this one. That's the end of the religions for Attack on Titan, unless something else pops up that I forgot about. But that's what I got for this one. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the series. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. Our request is but one thing: the immediate opening of the gate. That's all.